My presentation will be on assessments. So the definition of assessments. Student assessment is the process of evaluating students' abilities and achievements. While in some minds, standardized testing is synonymous with student assessment encompasses a variety of ways to determine how students are progressing in their learning. I have 4 characteristics for assessments. The first one is reliability. Reliability really is just the consistency of students' scores, so their scores on the assessment. Along with that, you need to use enough questions to assess competence, and you also need a consistent environment for students. So most students should take the test in the same type of environment as everyone else. Some students have exceptions, but for the most part, everybody should have the same type of environment. And you need to weed out ambiguous or poor performing questions, so make sure all of your questions are clear, things like that. The next one is student engagement and motivation. So if students are engaged and motivated, they tend to work harder to achieve their academic goals. Having these characteristics means students have less stress and anxiety. Having students be engaged and motivated means that they can see the connection between effort and achievement. So students work harder to achieve better goals, better scores. The next one is content validity. Without content validity, you are unable to make a statement about what a test taker knows and doesn't know. You need to see whether the test shows the full range of behaviors that make up the construct being measured. The last one is fairness. Every student deserves an equal opportunity to demonstrate their understanding. You shouldn't rush your preparation of the assessment you're giving. You should carefully prepare it. And you need to try to aim for assignments and questions that are crystal clear. So don't try to go off in some other material. You need to mostly test about the material that you've been going over in class. There are times when teachers throw questions in there that can be confusing, and students are like, we haven't gone over this, so why are we being tested over it? And that can cause stress and anxiety and cause students to not do well. So always just test what you've been going over in class. Next, we're going to move to the arguments. So I'll start with the pros. The first one is improved academic achievement. Testing and assessing can help you grow in your knowledge and support your overall class grade if done well. And even if you don't do well, there's always room for improvement. The next one is focused and targeted feedback. You always want good feedback. Assessing focuses on targeted feedback for students so you can improve. Good feedback is always a plus. Sometimes, your feedback may not be as great, but what's good about assessing is it always tells you whether you've done good or bad, and it always leaves room for you to think about what you need to improve on. The next one is defines learning goals. Getting test results back can show you where you need to improve, making you define learning goals to achieve. So if you get a okay test score back, but you think you can improve better, that might help you set a goal to work on whatever it is that you scored a little bit low on. Another pro would be that assessments create self-regulated learners. when you can control your own learning environment, this will make it a lot easier for you. If you know the material, you know how to make your setting just right for you, that'll help you a lot in the long run. And then the last one in the pros is it increases rigor. An increase in rigor can be extremely helpful. Knowing the content is always a plus. So, yes, there are students that are just deeper in knowledge and just sometimes know the answers. That's a huge plus for you. But assessing can help with students that don't necessarily have that, because a lot of the times assessments goes a little bit deeper into knowledge, and that can help you learn a lot of that. Next, I'll go into the cons. The first one I have is misinterpreted questions. So when a question isn't clear, it makes it a lot harder for students to understand the material, sometimes resulting in giving up. Personal experience, there have been questions on tests where I'm just completely lost, and a lot of the times it just upsets you and makes you want to give up, and just always push through and never give up on questions. Try to do process of elimination, and just if you just have no idea, then just pick one. You never want to leave an answer blank. Assessments could encourage surface learning only. Sometimes assessments don't go deep enough into the material and only scratch the surface, closing off the ability to gain more knowledge. Most assessments usually go pretty deep, but there are some that just, scratch the little surface of material and that's it. And you don't want to be that type of learner. You want to be the type of learner that goes deep into the material so you can gain more knowledge. As said in the pros about feedback can also be limited. Sometimes feedback isn't always there. Sometimes feedback can be limited, leaving students unsure what to focus on and learn more of. If you ever have any questions about feedback, you should always go to your teacher no matter what. Another con would be constructing high-level test questions could be difficult. When it comes to constructing high-level test questions, you may feel a little stressed. A lot of the times, maybe teachers might not know whether the test question is too hard or too easy. So that can always be stressful when it comes to assessments. And then the last one is a tendency to rely on test banks. Relying on test banks isn't horrible, but it's better to create your own test questions so you know the information and the students are understanding. When you create your own test questions, you know that information, so it's a lot easier for you to create your own questions. So when you go to check an assessment or what, you already know the answer and you know whether or not the student is understanding. So my opinion on assessments can show you how your learning is evolving, good or bad. So like I said in some of the pros and cons, feedback is really important because it shows you whether you've done good or bad on an assessment, and it shows you whether you're evolving or whether you're kind of stepping back a little bit, and it shows you what you need to improve on. Assessments can widely increase your knowledge. I personally have gained a lot of knowledge from assessments in high school and things like that. Sometimes it's hard, you don't understand things, but taking those assessments, I think, really helped in the long run, because it just really helps you gain things about anything, any material, any subject. You gain some type of knowledge from taking those assessments. Sometimes tests Sometimes test anxiety gets the best of people, causing poor results on exams. There are some students, some people that just freak out when they take a test. They don't know what's going on. The environment isn't what they need. Assessments especially, because assessments are usually testing you over a wide variety of things, and that can be extremely terrifying, really. It is. And sometimes people just freak out, don't know what to do, but always try to push through and do the best that you can. And then not doing well can result in lost opportunity to take early college classes in high school. This happened to me personally. I took the Iowa assessment, didn't do so hot on my math score, and wasn't able to take college classes in high school. It sucked, but I still get the opportunity to go to college and do well. But always focus on your assessments when you're taking them. Do your absolute best and never ever give up on them. And then I have my resources. And that is my presentation on assessments.